Hello and welcome to the next or third, fourth podcast of Tuesdays with Nathan. I'm Nathan, our host, and we have with us together the other seventh grade teacher,
Ryan
Ryan
teacher, what's good,
teacher.
guys?
All right, so we're just gonna have some nice, normalized, regular, everyday topics today. And to first start off, so have you heard of what's his face? Have you heard of Elon Musk? You know who Elon Musk is, right? We all know who Elon
The
Musk
dude
is.
of Tesla?
Yeah, the one who owns Tesla, who makes cars and everything. Have you heard of his child's name?
No, I have not. What is his child's name?
So recently he had a child. I think this is his like fifth or fourth child, and his
Okay.
child was named X A E. You know the AE Greek symbol letter,
hmm
and A12, A-12.
So, like, if you were gonna say his whole name, what would it be?
It'd be they finally released the name and it's X Ash 12, X Ash A12. That's how you say his name, the child's name.
So, like, if you were to be in school and call, attendance, you
Yeah,
would
he'd be
say,
if the first day they'd look at the roster and say, "Is X Ash A12 here today? Is X Ash?" They just ask that question. And like, my question here is like, why was he allowed to? Why was the family even allowed to put this kind of name? Like, do you agree that like they should be allowed to like write this kind of name on like for the child? Do you think like it's gonna be scarring for them, or do you think because he's just so famous, it's not gonna matter?
it's definitely a name that I've never ever in my life heard of. So it's very unique. Maybe the kid will get a lot of clout for it, a lot of popularity from it.
Mm,
Maybe the kid will have a hard time because of it. Who knows? But I don't know. That's just so out of the ordinary because there's like a lot of interesting names, that are pretty unique, but
mm-hmm.
this one's like very unique. So it's it's definitely out of this normal way of naming your children.
Because I
Yeah.
know like I've never seen numbers or like Greek letters in a name. Like I've heard of like the name like the most like weird name I've heard is probably like Margarita, where they named like their child after like the drink
hmm
or like other sorts of things. But like I've never heard this kind of stuff where it's like, oh, like X Ash A12. Like it sounds so robotic and like it's just like a not a
Kind of,
person.
yeah, robotic in a way.
And like when I think about this, like, do you think the child should be able to rename themselves when they have like for us like when we like completely perceive the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Isn't
around
it
like 12 or 14 people like kind of understand what the world is,
right? Um, it's legal to change your name. I know that,
but
right?
you have to be around like 18 and like have parent consent as well.
Oh, so if it was to be like a lower age limit to
Yeah,
be
what do you
able
what do you
to.
think you would like, do you think they would allow it? Like, oh yeah, your parents messed up, obviously you can rename yourself. Like
What if he likes the name though? Like he's like, oh, this
i
is such an awesome name.
I mean, I don't think so. I feel like if he was any other person besides Elon Musk's like child, like let's say they weren't a child like famous actor, like let's say it was some kid from school, like literally just walking around and like, oh, what's his name? Oh, like X A12. What? Like, I'd be like, why? Like, what did his parents think of? Like, why were his parents like even like allowed? You know?
Hmm, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see when that kid turns to be 12 or 13, 14. And
Hmm.
we can see what he actually thinks of it. Because when he's young, he's probably not going to think much of it. Because I feel like a lot of kids don't really think about those things when they're elementary. But once they start getting into junior high, high school, they're more like, huh,
Hmm.
I do have an interesting name.
I mean, yeah, like this goes back into like I have some friends like in high school and like and then they came into college and like the first thing one of the friends I knew did right when they turned
Uh-huh.
18 was change their name. And like it
Really?
was because I think his name was David and he
Okay.
wanted to change it to something that was like individual, like something special because he was like, "Oh, like my name David is just so basic." Even though like I feel like I don't feel like people should change their names, but like how do you feel like? Do you think people should be okay with like should it be it's like societally accepted to like change their name?
mm, Shout out to all the Davids though, because we got a David in our Bible study. You know you. But I think, if you want to, like, there's nothing wrong with it. I know my cousin, she changed her first name. It was like very Korean, but she changed it to something very Americanized,
Mm.
just for herself. So I don't think there's anything wrong. Like, if you want to change your name, like, change your name. Um, but I mean, I'm pretty sure when parents do name their children, they have a lot of thought into it. I would hope so. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure when they name their child, um, they, kind of thought it through.
they think about it more than
Right.
how they think their parents thought it through, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I can see that. And speaking of parents, what did you do for this Mother's Day?
What did we do? So, woke up a little bit earlier than usual with my
Of
younger
course,
brother, and then we
of
cooked her
course.
breakfast. We made her eggs Benedict. That's like one of the only things I know how to actually make. And this time I nailed it. I got the hollandaise sauce correct. I got the poached egg correct. But we cooked her breakfast, and then for dinner we had sushi.
Ooh,
And then I
fancy.
just wrote her a card. Nothing too crazy, but just breakfast, family meal, and just a card. Yeah. What about you?
Mhm. So I obviously we woke up early. My sister made breakfast with me and my brother. My brother was out trying to get flowers. The line at
Okay.
any flower store was like around like around the entire building. So like he couldn't get flowers. So we just decided like we'll just put more effort into like the cooking and like doing everything for her today
Hmm.
or like yesterday. And then we weren't gonna plan to go anywhere, but they
Yeah.
changed like our like grandparents were like really wanted us to come, so we like put on our masks and like cleaned ourselves up and then
Yeah.
drove all the way to Roland and just like had a little like celebration and came back kind of thing.
Hmm.
It was like all right day. It's just like that was yesterday was like my first day leaving the house
Hmm.
in like
A
a
while.
long time. Yeah. So like I haven't done anything besides like stay home, like study, like hang out with friends, like talk with friends and like just sit at home.
Yeah.
Kind of weird like to go felt like unnatural.
Right. Because it's been a long time.
Yeah, especially. And do you know what happened this past Thursday? That was very big, somewhat big
What
for
was
the
this past Thursday?
economy. It was or actually past Friday, this past Friday.
This past Friday. Was it phase two?
Yes, phase two. So
Wow.
the biggest topic of today is about phase two. So you know what
Dose.
phase two is, right?
It's like certain things are opening up again. What were the certain specifics?
So it was more of like it was like for smaller businesses and other non like essential businesses to like be able to like steady
Hmm.
themselves and regrow from just having basically nothing at this point because they're obviously losing money the more time as time passes by because they have to pay rent and like other things and like have to survive as well. So like
Yeah.
with the smaller businesses like losing money, they have to like at least like they allow some businesses to open so that not every like the entire economy just crashes.
Hmm.
So with phase two, recently I've been seeing a lot of people saying like all over like TikTok, social media, people have been telling me like, oh like coronavirus is over, like quarantine is over, like we can all hang out
Uh,
now. And I've been really questioning that, but like I wanna see how you feel about that.
hmm. Um. So I think yes, a lot of people are very frustrated about the economy and working because obviously people need to work. People need to make money to provide for their families, to provide for themselves, to pay rent, to pay utilities, to feed themselves. There's so many things, people need money for. It's a necessity of life.
Hmm.
So I understand people's complaints and their frustrations, but again, like just because the curve, you know, flattens out in a way doesn't mean the
Hmm.
virus is gone. It's still out
Hmm.
there. It's just because people have been isolated, the risk and the chance of people getting it drops, but the virus is still out there. There's no
Hmm.
actual cure for it yet. So I think people still need to realize we do need to take precaution to this. You know, if people need to work, like people should work, but then I don't think people should actively just be going out of the way to let loose of everything. People assume that, oh, there's no more coronavirus. Like that's just not right to think in this moment. We should
Yeah.
still be very cautious and careful. But I mean, it's encouraging to see that people are going to be able to work again in their
Hmm.
businesses. What about you? What do you think?
Like yesterday is like it really hit me like people don't care, which is what kind of frustrated me. Like so, I said I went to like had I went to like my cousins and like my grandparents' house and like we all kind of met up. My cousins, the first thing they said were like, "Oh, like you have a car, Nathan? Like or like Hyung, like can you drive us somewhere? Like let's go to like the beach." And I was like, "The beach?" I'm like, "Why are we going to the beach? Like we should not be going to the beach." Like that's like
Right.
the first thing. Like I've seen so many people going out and like it just kind of frustrates me to see like multiple people just like disregarding like the concept of like social
Yeah.
distancing and like staying safe. And like I think it's more of a matter of like downsizing what coronavirus really is instead of
Yeah.
like making it like non-existent. It's like they're like, oh, like it can't happen to me. It's like the first,
Right.
oh, like I've never had pneumonia before. I've never broken bones, but like the thing is like, oh, I've never had it before, so I don't think I can get it. Like I feel like I can't. Like it won't
Right.
happen.
That's a
Like
very dangerous
not
thought
to
to have.
me. Yeah. And like what I don't understand is why people are very like willing to just like go out and just like, oh, like this doesn't exist, so I could just like have fun during this time.
Yeah.
And that's what's a very scary fact because like the more
Mm.
people that go out, like since we're obviously if with the phase two we're moving forward, but
Right.
if we're acting like this, we're technically moving backwards in time, which is just
Mm.
making the entire like concept worse.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, I forgot which state it was, but I think it was Michigan. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it.
Mhm.
It was like a couple hours before they were possibly gonna like remove quarantine, but
Mhm.
literally 2 or 3 hours before like the next day, which was the day they were gonna open up again, the
Mhm.
governor was like, "We're gonna extend it." So we really don't know what's gonna happen,
Mhm.
um, and we just gotta follow what our government says in this
Mhm.
time. Obviously, they just want the best
Mhm.
for the safety and the health of the people, and it just risks the it makes risks drop lower.
Yeah.
So it's something we should all think about and still consider. Don't let loose, guys. It's still out there, still
it's like
dangerous.
something it's like something my sister says all the time. Like we like right when coronavirus like and this quarantine started, it would be my sister. The first thing that she told me was like, we don't know what's gonna happen within like 1 second, 1 hour, like 30 minutes, like instantly. Like anything can happen. Like
Oh
one
yeah.
hour, 1 hour I was climbing in a gym. The next hour I didn't have school for the next week. The next
Mm,
hour I literally didn't have school for the next month. It was like that kind of thing. That's what was just like, whoa, like
yeah.
things can escalate instantly and it
Right.
just can be really dangerous.
Yeah. Things are very unknown in
Mhm.
our minds and what we think.
Mm.
We're not really in control of anything. We just kind of have to wait and see what happens.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's one more thing I would like to bring up, and that is
Okay.
South Korea. Have you heard of the big pandemic coming back into South Korea?
Right, because people are kind of letting loose again, and
Hmm.
then it's moving back up.
So what happened was Korea's system of like keeping people safe is like monitoring people and then like seeing where they are and letting people know where those people who are infected are, so that they can
Mm,
possibly avoid them and create like less contact with them, which
yeah,
creates obviously a more safer environment. But
right.
like the thing is like I think recently what happened was in a bar in Korea
Mm,
they what's called they obviously monitored it, but like the people didn't care, and
yeah,
that not caring made, I think they sent them backwards. They put the curve back. The car's
yeah,
not flat anymore, so the curve is back on track again, and it's making things
right.
like completely worse for them in like overall. And
Mm,
it's just like what we possibly could go through right now because our curve isn't even
yeah,
flattened, but we're going on to phase two and we're acting like the curve is flattened.
right.
So
So,
that's what
yeah,
really scary.
right. I feel like when we see Korea, we kind of see, yes, we cannot be careless just because, things are starting to kind of get better, because that's what will ultimately lead into more destruction and more
Mhm.
hardship. So yeah, 100%. I think there's something we can learn from, seeing Korea and what they're going through right now.
Mhm.
That's, yeah, very important to think about.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And with the subject of us being in quarantine, how have you been doing with what's called with your studies? I know that like as this time is like increasing, like I've been stuck just only this entire quarter just studying at home, like
Hmm.
nothing else. How
Right.
have you like been able to like combat this like really difficult situation for studying?
For me personally, I think I'm actually in finals week right now. So I
Mm-hmm.
had one today actually this morning, and then I have a
Oof.
final one every day until Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, going through the process right now, but um, it is a lot difficult. I think I definitely do take in information better, and I think I'm more proactive when I'm actually in the setting of a classroom. I know a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people, some people, like, the online schooling does not work for them. They need to actually
Yeah.
be there, and that's the most beneficial for them. It all just depends on the person, but I'm one of those people who benefit more from being in that actual environment.
Mm-hmm.
So at first, it was kind of hard to adjust, but it's been some time, and I'm kind of adjusting and getting used to it. I
Mm-hmm.
think a big thing is kind of having a schedule and a routine with what time you're going to have your classes, because some of our classes, they're not on actual schedule, but they record it, pre-record it
Mm-hmm.
and give it to us. So just having a very regular schedule of going to class, studying, getting your work done, writing your papers, working on your projects, um, is very important. So overall, I think because I've been able to make a very similar schedule, which is kind of repetitive, but at the same time it helps me get my work done.
Mm-hmm.
um, I realized that, yeah, having a schedule and a routine is very important during this time.
Yes.
What about you?
For myself, I am more of a online learner actually, which is kind of
Okay.
strange. Some things are naturally going to be harder because like I don't have like
Right.
the in person tests and whatnot. But I'm a very at home body, and like I enjoy like being at home, which is kind of like it's obviously a plus, but like some people just need to be outside, which is like a
Oh
very
yeah.
like big thing. And like I obviously don't create schedules. I'm bad with those kind of things. Like I know I'm gonna break the schedule already. So the
Mm.
concept is like I set aside time every day. Like I set aside, I tell myself at least 4 hours, just dedicate this
Devoted
to
to that.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, just to this one thing, and then everything else is just to whatever I want or whatever I can. But
Mm.
that's just how my days have been going. I just like dedicate time, class, and then time, relax, kind of thing, just
Mm.
to get my mind off these things. And I know a lot of people have been taking this like time very seriously. Like
Yeah.
recently in my genetics class, people have been like right when the midterm came out, I think 40 students just dropped the class immediately because of
Wow.
how bad they did on the tests. And it was
Wow.
just like, wow, like if the professors aren't like at my school, professors aren't willing to like compromise because they're like, oh, it's like online classes, you should be
Yeah.
okay
Yeah.
with that kind of stuff. But like they some professors don't understand, like we don't have the same assets we did in
Right.
regular school than we do now, which is like the most worrying thing.
Yeah.
It's just getting the teachers to understand like the what we're going through right now, and then being able to like help us with it in our like in this time.
Mm. Yeah. I think I was talking about this with my parents, like this time of quarantine and online schooling, and basically for everybody. This, I think, goes for studies, work, also like our walk. It's gonna make it or break it for a lot of people.
Hmm.
Um, some people, they're gonna really take advantage of this time to focus, to study, to better
Hmm.
themselves, to grow closer to God, to grow closer in their walk with Him. And a lot of people, they're just gonna become lazy. They're gonna become stagnant. They're gonna not want to study, not care about the relationship with God, and just totally go south. Um,
Hmm.
so, yeah, a lot of times we need to think about what direction are we actually going in right now through this time of quarantine. And it's something I think we should all be considering and focusing on as
Hmm.
individuals. Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And I think we'll wrap up our podcast there. But I want to make
Okay.
one announcement that we will probably do for the next podcast. I'll try to do, but for this podcast, for those who are watching right now, I want you guys to obviously subscribe and like, but also in the comments, I want you guys to write a question that we can answer for our next podcast, so that we can
Mm-hmm.
we can start doing some Q&As and be able to get
Oh
the
yeah.
know-how of what you guys want us to talk about, what you guys want us to do in this time. So
Yes.
thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next podcast.
I have an announcement to make too, guys. I hope this encourages you guys. But as you know, we are Christians. I think we should make most of this time to be in prayer for, everything. There's just so much stuff to pray for. We can be praying for our church. We can be praying for your teachers. We're praying for you guys. We could be praying for Pastor Tim. We could be praying for our leaders, our president, our government. We could be praying for the universal church. We could be praying for our healthcare workers, our doctors, our nurses, our physicians. There's just so many things to be praying for. And I just wanted to share a couple verses. This is 1 Timothy chapter 2. First of all, then I urge that supplications, prayer, intercessions, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all who are in high positions, that we may lead a peaceful and quiet, godly and dignified in every way. This is a good and it is pleasing in the sight of our God. So yeah, let's just continue to be prayerful about everything that's happening. Let's be prayerful for our church, our leaders, our government, our healthcare workers, people who are struggling, people who have lost loved ones, who are financially struggling. There's just so many things to be praying about. So I encourage you guys to continue to be in prayer with us. And yeah, is there anything else, Nathan, teacher?
I think that's all.
Okay, thank you guys.
See you next one.